So the six problems I identified for a student, that is problems with reference to being honest, being truthful, problems with reference to managing time, problems with reference to managing finance, problems with reference to reaching the academic goals, problems with reference to communication, and problems with reference to social or societal aspects. When I think about the problems with reference to honesty or truthfulness or being genuine to one cause is a very important aspect. When I think about this being honest, I am reminded of a story that all of us know. A father and son going to a forest to fetch for their livelihood, where the father was away from his son at a distance working for the welfare of the family. The son tries to trick his father or fool him, saying that there is a tiger that is coming to attack him. Twice or thrice he befools his father. Ultimately, three times the father runs for the safety of the child, but the child laughs at his father's anxiety. And ultimately, and when there was that need, when real tiger attacks him, though the son yells at the father, doesn't come because he was befooled thrice already. So I am reminded of that story that when one is not honest, one will be caught at one time or one day or the other. Maybe temporarily one may enjoy the pleasure of lying, enjoy being dishonest, enjoy being happy in that lies. So we should inculcate or we should practice to resolve these problems being honest. Of course, when you be true, though we say that truth will set, or the Bible says that truth will set you free, yes, it will happen sometime. Time you should give for that. But temporarily you may encounter difficulties if you are true. So people avoid to face these temporary difficulties and they lie and they can never or they will not be genuine, true to oneself. So as a student, it is very easy to escape by lying. We observe many children or many students lying to their parents, lying to their teachers, lying everywhere or whenever you want to escape from that particular problem. Though from the beginning or from your pre-primary or primary schools itself, and we have a saying in our nation, Satyameva Jayate. But how true are we too? So, as I said, when the situation demands, are you able to be honest? Students, especially, they lie in order to help a friend or try to. You think that you are helping a friend by coming to his or her rescue from the parents or from the teachers by lying. But one day it is like that story that I just referred. So you will be in bigger trouble if you are not genuine to yourself, genuine to your others, or to your neighbors, or to your teachers. So it has to be practiced. We often say never lie, or we hear our elders, our parents, our teachers telling people not to lie, lie, don't lie, don't lie, don't lie. But how many stand by it? How many follow it? And how many fulfill it? So try to be truthful to the maximum. So there's a saying, better late than never. Maybe all these years, now most of you would have passed your teenagers, or some of you are still teenagers. So maybe your life, your high school life, your childhood state is gone. Your teenage life you are at. Soon you will be ending your teenager, you will be arriving at adulthood. As you become young men and women, at least now, make a beginning. Be true to yourself. And I always believe that we don't deceive ourselves. So if you think in business or outside the world, people cheat others very easily. Especially, there are friends who cheat other friends. Enemy cheating an enemy is a different thing. But there are friends who cheat other friends. So look at the genuinity of the character of the individuals. So my dear students, the first thing that I would like to give solution to maintain or to resolve the problem of honesty is to better start again, to be true to yourself. Always speak the truth. It will definitely set you free. The second problem that I would like to tell you about, managing one's time. See, these are all the skills that they can be enhanced, they can be bettered by practicing, by exercising. So physically, when you are trying to be fit, so there are people who walk for miles together. There are people who go to gyms to make them fit for that physical state of mind and body. They hours together. There are people who spend lots of money in making one's fit. So, in order to make you a better student, in order to make you a better citizen of our country, in order to make you a better person, so when you become better, your success rate is going to grow. It will definitely grow. So, practice these skills to better yourself. So that's what the objective of the course is also. It's not for the grades, it's not for the marks. It's for you to better yourself so that you can make an impact on others. That's what we need. We don't need role models from any other areas. So people often say that I have Chiranjeevi as my role model, or I have Bill Gates as my role model. Okay, they are successful people. But you can become a role model to yourself so that others would be able to follow you. So that is the objective of this course here. So time management is a very crucial thing. And we are often laughed at IST, Indian Standard Time. So many a times we don't maintain the time. We take it for granted. Suppose we say I'll be there in an hour's time. I'll go 15 minutes late. I'll go half an hour late. And especially these days, we are running after time. Your academics especially is now at a critical juncture where the semester system is making you to run after time, run after acquiring knowledge. So you can't be lethargic. You cannot be lazy. So try to inculcate the habit of maintaining the time. Sharp plus time. You should always be in time. So that is, suppose a time is set for a particular meeting, try to arrive 5 minutes early to the meeting. It gives you comfort. It gives you that kind of a flexibility to arrive at that particular situation in a proper way. It eases your tensions. So if you could manage your time even in your studies. So when you go to your college, you have a timetable, schedule that is given to you. Maybe from 9 to 10 you have maths class, you have from 9 to 10, or from 10 to 11 you have some science class, or from 11 to 12 you have some other ethics and values class, and so on and so forth, or any other history, geography, English, and so on, some other languages. So you strictly adhere to this timetable. So it is essential in one's life also to have maybe a timetable. You can easily schedule your works apart from your academic work. The remaining time, how much of time that you are able to manage for your studies, how much of time that you are able to manage for your personal life, how much of time that you are spending with your family members, with your parents, with your brothers and sisters. So for all these things, it is better to have a schedule. You schedule it and try to follow accordingly. That will help you really to manage your time, because time is precious. You cannot recover the past time. Maybe you can recover something that you lost in the past, but time can never be recovered. You lose it. Of course, you will have time in future, but the past time, where you have lost, what you have lost, how you have lost, will never be going to gain. So, my dear students, inculcate the time schedules in your life so that you follow according to the schedule and be on time for any schedule that you do it. You will find the difference. You'll find the happiness, or you arrive at the solutions very easily, because you are now in a state of managing your time properly. Then the third problem that I would like to focus on is financial management. How do you maintain your finance? I know this generation of students, you are all blessed that you have either one sibling, you have either a brother or a sister, and many of you are a single child to your parents, and you are being pampered a lot with your pocket monies. I know that many parents give pocket monies to the children, and even if not pocket money, you get some scholarships. If you are a hostler, you are getting some hostel fees as fees from your parents. You receive from time to time some scholarships. So you get money, but how do you manage your money? I am reminded of Gandhiji's uh, autobiography, my experiments with truth, where Gandhiji tells about being accountable. As a student of law in London, he was helped by his brother financially. So he used to get money, but at the end of every month, he would arrive at credit, or he become rather penniless in his pocket. So one day he realizes and started noting down the expenses, even it's a minutest one, even for a bus ticket that he's spending, even for a cup of tea that he's spending. So as he started noting down the expenses for each day, he tried to maintain that account. So as he maintained, he realizes where he is becoming a spendthrift or he's spending more than required, and where he's spending unnecessarily, and then he reduced that kind of spending that would help him at the end or at a later time to maintain balance of his accounts. So he could save some money where he could use it for other purpose. So my dear students, learn to be accountable to your money. Maybe you are not earning. Maybe the government is giving. Maybe your parents are earning and helping you with the money. But maintain your accounts. So that will help you to realize unnecessary expenditures. I know that many people indulge in unnecessary expenditures in want of friendship or in want of relationship, whatever may be that you think. But it's not going to help you in future if you don't maintain accountability. You would end up with a zero balance. So you should learn to save money, though you are not earning, it is from your parents, but even then, that would help you to rather resolve the problems in future whenever you become an earner. When you start earning, that would help you to save money. So my dear students, manage your accounts. Maybe now your accounting is maybe in hundreds or thousands, whatever may be that money. But that as you grow in your life, this accountability or accounting and maintaining some balance at the end of the day would really going to help you to lead a happy life. Then the next problem is academic goals. We know that all of you have set forth goals. Maybe for some forced by your parents to reach that goal, but for others, goals are important. So you set short-term goals and long-term goals. But how are you able to reach your goals? Are you able to reach your goals? So you need to better to write down the goals. Whether these are my maybe 2020, these are my short-term goals. These are the goals for my 2021. So how are you going to reach the goals? So you need to make a note. And is these goals achievable? Yes, all goals are achievable if you have that kind of a bent of mind. So realize what are your short-term goals, what are your long-term goals, how do you want to settle in life. I don't think that anybody would like to lead a life of a vagabond. For that you need not study. So you want to study. So education would help you to acquire knowledge, and such knowledge would enlighten you, and it would give you that kind of enlightenment to look at the problems that you face, to analyze the problems that you are facing or others are facing, and face out the problems. So that's why these academic goals are to be keenly looked into so that you reach your goal. Maybe for some goals you might be able to reach very quickly, but for the others you need to work hard Hard work never fails. Intelligence may fail. So try to learn to work hard. Never be lethargic. Never be lazy. Some people, as I said, many of this generation students are pampered. They don't want to work hard. But hard work will definitely make you a successful person. So, to reach your goals, whether it's short term goals or long term goals, learn to work hard. That will definitely going to help you to reach your goals, achieve your goals. And when you achieve your goals, you are a successful person. So start with your academic achievements. And intelligence, as I said, may fail, but hard work would never fail. So my dear students, don't think that one fellow is intelligent than me. But if you start working hard, you can exceed that intelligence and become successful. The next problem that I would like to talk about is communication. So many people have that kind of a feeling that they are not good communicators. Yes, you cannot become a good communicator unless you become a good listener. So try to listen. Nowadays, there are no listeners. People don't want to listen. People have that kind of egoistic attitude that I know everything. Who are you to tell me? What can you tell me? I am a degree student. I am a graduate. I am a postgraduate. I know. So that kind of attitude will never help you. So try to learn to pay much attention to your teachers, to your parents, to your elders. Listen what to say, what they say. So if you are a good listener, and you can become a good communicator. And of course, if this is a very broader problem that it will take 1 hour for this particular problem to be addressed, I'm just giving you some shorter tips. If you want to become a good speaker in English, listen to English speeches, listen to English songs at least, listen to English conversation. And today we are living in a world where abundance of knowledge is resources are at hand, because you have your mobile smartphones, you have this Wi-Fi networking, internet working. So for anything, it is at your hand, or it is in your hand. Only thing is you should focus. So listen to music, listen to speeches, especially news channels. Especially I'm focusing about English language. People say that I've been studying English language. I am not a good communicator. I cannot communicate. Why you cannot communicate? Because you are unable to use the language. You have the knowledge of the language, but you are unable to use the language because you are not exposed to the language. And this is a big challenge for every student today, because English has become the world language. Everywhere, if you go beyond our state or even within our state, that's why you need to open up. Don't feel shy. So many people have that kind of an attitude. What if I speak wrongly? So what? Nobody is perfect. Everybody commits mistake. And for an English learner, if you don't commit mistakes, you don't learn. So commit mistakes, use the language. My sincere advice is at least pick up 5 words per day from newspapers or from the hearing that you get from the gadgets. Watch movies, listen to stories. There are plenty available in the internet resources. Browse them instead of wasting the time in playing unnecessary games that is leading you to commit suicides. Dear students, improve your communication. If you don't learn to better your communication, you are not going to succeed. You will face lot of problems. So communication is a big challenge today. Don't bother about your style of language. Nobody cares for your style of language, but how far you are able to communicate your ideas. Your idea might be very good, but if you don't communicate, what's the use? So the solution to resolve your communication problem is use the communication. Get exposed to the language to the maximum. It's like a lubricant in a mopike or in a automobile, or petrol in your automobile. If you pour petrol in a bike or a car and keep it aside, will you run your car smoothly? No. So you use petrol and you use the car, you drive the car or you drive your bike. It gives you that kind of a smoothness, or it takes you to your destination. So the language, the communication aspect is also like a liquid, or like a fuel or a petrol that would take you to your destination, whatever that your goals that you have set forth. So my dear students, address this problem to resolve it properly. And the last problem that I would like to point out is social or societal. So everywhere there's a problem. In your homes, you have problems with your parents. You have problems with your conflicts with your brothers or sisters, your neighbors, maybe with some communities as well. So there, your bent of mind, as I tell, come out of that egoness, come out of that attitude, face the problem, look at the problem, and then address the problem. As you address, arrive at the solutions to the problem. Try to find a number of solutions for a particular problem and choose the solution which is aptly helps you to resolve it permanently, not temporarily like a band-aid. My dear students, so if there is a problem, ask the problems with questions of who, why, when, what, where, how, and what if. So first thing, realize that there is a problem. Realize or identify the problem. Then analyze the problem. So you can divide the problems into sub-problems. And then as you subcategorize the problems, address the problems. Address with what kind of a solution that you can arrive at. And then arrive at the solutions, choose the solution, and then evaluate the solution, how far you are going to succeed with that kind of a solution that you arrive. So these are the steps involved in solving your problems. Identify your problems. Structure your problem. That means you can categorize main problem, sub-problem, sub-problem. Maybe you can divide it into two ways, as some scholars say. Problem as a goal and barrier to that reaching the goal. What is that is hindering the goal? For example, I would say, suppose you get a job, bigger job that you never expected that you get. But to go to a particular job, you need proper transport. And to have a proper transport, you need to buy it. For example, you got an officer job in a particular organization. So you need to reach that organization, but you don't have a vehicle to reach. You don't have a scooter or a car to go there. So what is the problem? You need to buy. To buy a scooter or a car, you need money. Money is a problem. Transport is a problem. Job is a problem. You have a job now. So the goal is how to reach the destination of that particular office. And these are the barriers. You don't have a transport. You don't have a car or a vehicle. And you don't have money to buy a car. So address, now you categorize, analyze the problem. So what is the problem? To buy a car or to buy a vehicle. Then what is the other problem? No money. So now how do I get a money? Where is the money? Who can give me money? What kind of a transport I would require? Do I require a car? Do I require a motorbike? Do I require a bigger car, a smaller car, or a motorbike, or a scooter, whatever may be? So likewise, you identify these are the barriers. I don't have money. I don't have the vehicle, but I have a job. That's the goal. I need to reach my job. So if you can structure the problem like that, and basing on that, you can list out your priorities. Okay, what kind of a car I would like, or what kind of a bike I would like. So you can order your priorities. So if I buy a scooter, how much of money I would need? Maybe a 60,000. If I buy a car, how much of money I require? Maybe 5 lakhs, 6 lakhs. So if I take a loan, what is the outcome of the loan? How would I pay? Will my salary be, I will be able to maybe spend some of my money from the salary and pay my loan back. So you identify, you structure your problem, you prioritize your problems according to the needs and the consequences or the outcomes of that problem, and then you arrive at solutions. Okay, I'll take 60,000 as a loan and go for a bike for a while, and afterwards then I'll go for a bigger vehicle. A simple like thing. So my dear students, so these are the solutions that you can focus on. So first of all, if any problem is there, don't run away from the problem. Encounter the problem. Face the problem. And never run away. It will lead you to depression. It will lead you to arrive at a negative state of mind. So focus your mind. Look at the problem and set your mind to be a positive thinking mind, not a negative mind. That's why we say it in a technical term, if I want to use it, cognitive psychology we say. So problem solving is a cognitive psychology. That is your mind. Your mindset has to be changed. Change your mindset. So whether if problems come, don't become negative. Turn these problems into positiveness. So address it with proper questions. How do I look at the problem? Is this problem only for me? There are many people with such problems. How are they able to face these problems, focus these problems, resolve these problems? So analyze it. So analyze the problem properly. And if you cannot do it, maybe take the help of others. So no man can succeed without the help of others. Don't think that individuals can succeed without the help of others. It's only with the help of others individuals succeed. And that's why today we are talking about group managements, team managements, group works. So it is essential in this world, in a globalized world we live today, it is essential for us to learn to live and let live others by accommodating others. So giving a scope for others to coordinate, cooperate and help in building oneself. So that's why when some problems come, You need to come together with others, share your knowledge, share your ideas, share your experiences, admonish others, give suggestions, take advices. That's why you need to learn to have an analytical mind where others would also come. That's why negotiation comes to play a very, very vital role in resolving many conflicts, many problems. You negotiate. If it's not possible with one to one, always bring in a third party. So if two people are conflicting at each other, if you are unable to resolve that problem, invite the third person. There's nothing wrong. And see that the third person you invite is unbiased. If you are dealing any problem with a biasness, it's not going to help you to resolve. So there should be open-mindedness. There should be broad-mindedness. There should not be any narrow-mindedness. And then only you can help in resolving any problem that you encounter in life. According to a famous businessman, one of the topmost speakers in the world today, because we know that we live in a globalized world, and every part of the world India or any other part of the world has become a smaller world. So by a man named John Hall, he is a founder of a company called Calendar, where he gives lectures, goes around, travels, and he's a writer also. He brings out 6 techniques to better your problems. In his speeches, he points out that develop a step-by-step approach. That's what he says. So problem solving aspect or skill is a cyclic. It's like a cyclic. It recurs. So the problem solving issue is a cyclic issue. So where you need to have a step-by-step approach, not one go. You cannot resolve any problem at one go. So step by step, that's what I said. Categorize, prioritize your problems. What's the most important problem? What's the least important problem? In between, you categorize, you give subtopics or subtitles to your problems. And step by step, address these problems. And when you are asking a question, oh, how am I going to do? That's going to be a bigger trouble. Ask solution-oriented question. So see that if you are asking a right question to the problem. Okay, ask a right question to the problem, but not a wrong question to the problem where it will not reach you to arrive at a solution. Excuse me. Thirdly, your mindset. Change your mindset. Take every problem as a challenge. So if you take every problem as a challenge, it will help you to grow. So challenges are the ways to grow. So that is the third technique that he says. Change your mindset. View at every problem as a challenge. Don't become narrow-minded. Excuse me. Open your mind. Have a broader sense of understanding. Have a broader sense of cooperating, accommodating. Then view at the problem as a challenge, and it will help you to grow. Don't give any negative first impressions. So we have such a tendency. If you look at a person who is shabbily dressed, we automatically say, look at that fellow, bad fellow. If somebody is rudely speaking, maybe you would say, hey, he's a very nasty fellow. That's our first impression. So never stick on to that kind of a first impression. Of course, first impression is the best impression, we say, but still avoid lingering or keeping on that particular attitude or that impression. of that gives a negativity. Try to convert that kind of a negativity into a positivity. Then there you are setting your mind, you are opening your mind to a broader sense of understanding or broader analytical thinking. So experiential learning is one thing. So you need to work at it, your own hands. You work with your own hands to resolve the problem. That's what we say experiential learning is. So first-hand learning, in other words, to be simple, I would say. So have that kind of a first-hand learning that would help you to experience it, look at the problem and resolve the problem. As I said, if you cannot resolve, the next step is reach out to people. Put your egos aside. So if you are egoistic, if you feel proud about yourself, the pride will destroy. So learn to become modest. Be submissive. It's not weak. People think that these qualities are weaker qualities. Being submissive, being non-egoistic. Put aside as your ego, your pride, become accommodative and submissive. Definitely you will be growing. And sometimes you need to give some time in resolving the problems. As I told you, problems can never be achieved at speed. Maybe the world is at speed, but problems, if you are trying to resolve problems, it takes its own time. Sometimes you have to set aside the problem, take a break, reflect on it, then come back, and then you will definitely get some new ideas. You arrive at new sense. New sense will come to your mind, and your mind will be clear of the problem. You would be able to clear the problem. So sometimes the pause, maybe some gap, maybe some time has to be given to the problems so that it will help you to reflect. I don't mean to run away. When I ask you to give some time, I don't mean to say that you have to run away from the problem. But set aside the problem for some time. Think about it. Clear your mind. Have some refreshment. Maybe take a break. Let your mind relax for a while. Then come back to the problem. It will help you to resolve. These are the 6 techniques that he points out that would help you to arrive at solutions to your problem. So before I close, I am also reminded of another story about how we need to learn to accommodate ourselves. Because we know there was the story that I want to talk to you about. There was a rat in a farm, and when we say, we know that a farm would have pigs, chickens, buffaloes, and farmer would look after them. So suddenly this rat spied on the farmer and noticed that he brought a rat trap. So the rat was so frightened, so confused, so perplexed. So what the rat did, it ran to the chicken and said, chicken, there's a big problem. So there's a rat trap in the house, so I'm afraid. Then the chicken said, it's none of my business. What is the business with me when there's a rat trap in the house? Then the rat was so disappointed, and so it went to the pigs. Same, it's addressed the pigs, saying that, oh, pig, there's a big problem in the house, there's a rat trap in the house the farmer has brought, I'm afraid of it. Then the pig said, hey, why nonsense, what are you saying? What is there for me for a rat trap? That's your problem, you face it, I don't care. It was so disappointed. Then the rat again went to the buffalo. Then the buffalo also answered the same way. Hey, it's your business, your problem, what is there for me? Get lost. Then the rat felt rejected, and so it was thinking, okay, the rat trap is for me, so I have to face one day. Let's see how I can manage to get away from the trap or not fall into the trap. Then suddenly one night, the farmer's wife yelled. So it was dark, there was no power. So the farmer's wife went there. Suddenly the sound of the trap she heard. She went in to see, thinking that there's a rat in the trap. As it was dark, she walked near the trap and she was bitten by a snake. So probably the snake was caught in the rat trap and she was bitten by a snake. Then the lady got sick. She had fever. So cough, fever. So for fever, the farmer cut the chicken, made soup and served chicken so that the fever would come down. Nothing helped. So people started visiting the farmer's house to console the lady. Then when people started coming, the farmer had to cut the pig and serve for the guests. Ultimately, the lady became sicker and sicker. The health dwindled. One day she died. So when death came, many relatives, many people came. They all arrived. They attended the funeral. And after funeral, there was this prayer meeting where they had to serve food for all. So the farmer cut the buffalo, served meat to everybody. And that's how the chicken did not come to rescue to help the rat. The pig did not come to help the rat. The buffalo did not come to help the rat. But the rat survived. So here it is essential. What is the moral of the story is that we need, when problems arrive, when people come to help, ask help for a problem. So we need to learn to accommodate ourselves. We need to learn to see that our team member, our group member, our family member is rescued from the risk, from the problem. So as we live in this world where the team management and group management is essential, you need to open up your mind, come out of that egoness, come out of that narrow-mindedness, come out of that self, which would create jealousy, which would create hatred. But open up your mind, have a broader sense, learn to accommodate, cooperate and coordinate. Definitely you would succeed. With these words, I wish you all success in your life. I once again thank the principal and the faculty of English of GDC Kodur for giving me this opportunity. Thank you and best wishes to all. God bless you.